The city of Jerusalem stirred before dawn, a chill hanging in the air. The streets, once filled with songs of the Passover celebration, were now heavy with fear and silence. The Roman guards marched through the narrow stone alleys, their torches flickering against ancient walls. In their midst walked a man who carried the weight of the world, Jesus of Nazareth. His hands were bound, his face bruised, yet there was something unbreakable in his eyes, a calm beyond human understanding. The crowd that once shouted, "Hosanna!" now screamed, "Crucify him!" The voices of hatred echoed off the stone buildings as he was dragged before Pontius Pilate. Pilate looked at him, puzzled. "Are you the king of the Jews?" he asked. Jesus, silent for a moment, then replied softly, "You say that I am." There was no arrogance in his tone, only truth. Pilate found no guilt in him, but the crowd demanded blood. Fearful of unrest, Pilate washed his hands before them and said, "I am innocent of this man's blood." Yet, deep inside, he knew that history would never forget this moment. Jesus was handed over to be scourged. The Roman whips tore into his flesh. Soldiers mocked him, weaving a crown of thorns and pressing it onto his head. "Hail, King of the Jews!" they sneered, spitting and striking him. And still he did not curse them. When they led him away to be crucified, he stumbled under the weight of the wooden cross. The crowd jeered, but one man, Simon of Cyrene, was forced to help carry it. Together, step by painful step, they climbed the hill called Golgotha, the place of the skull. As the nails were driven into his hands and feet, the sound echoed through time. The pain was unbearable, yet his first words were not of anger, but mercy. "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Hours passed. The soldiers gambled for his robe beneath the cross. The sky grew darker. An unnatural gloom fell over the land. Thunder rolled in the distance. Even nature seemed to cry out in sorrow. At his feet stood Mary, his mother, trembling but unbroken. Beside her, John, the beloved disciple, tried to steady her shaking hands. "Woman," Jesus whispered through his pain, "behold your son." And to John, "Behold your mother." From the cross, compassion still flowed. Even as his life faded, his heart remained fixed on others. One of the criminals crucified beside him sneered, "If you are the Christ, save yourself and us." But the other, eyes full of remorse, said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus answered, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Then, as the 9th hour approached, the ground began to shake. The veil of the temple, the sacred curtain separating man from God, tore in two from top to bottom. It was as if heaven itself declared, "The barrier is gone." And with his final breath, Jesus cried out, "It is finished." His head fell, and silence swallowed the earth. The Roman centurion watching him whispered, trembling, "Surely this man was the Son of God." That night, the world felt broken. His disciples scattered, hearts crushed, faith shattered. The man they believed to be the Messiah, gone. Their hope buried beneath the weight of a stone. Joseph of Arimathea, a secret follower of Jesus, went to Pilate and asked for his body. With the help of Nicodemus, they wrapped him in linen and laid him in a new tomb carved into the rock. A great stone was rolled before the entrance, and guards were stationed to keep it sealed. As the Sabbath began, the city was quiet. The disciples hid in fear, whispering of what had happened. The air was heavy with grief. Mary Magdalene couldn't sleep. Her heart ached with loss. She remembered his words, his smile, and the way he had spoken of love that knew no end. She wondered, was it all over? But on the third day, everything changed. Before sunrise, the earth began to tremble once more, not in terror this time, but in triumph. A blinding light broke through the horizon. The stone at the tomb rolled away, not by human hands, but by divine power. The guards fell to the ground, paralyzed by fear. When Mary came to the tomb, she saw the stone moved aside. Panic surged through her. She ran to tell Peter and John, crying, "They have taken the Lord!" The two disciples ran to the tomb, their hearts racing. John reached it first and saw the linen cloths lying there, but he did not enter. Peter did, and what he saw changed everything. The burial wrappings were neatly folded. There was no chaos, no struggle. It was as if Jesus had simply risen, calmly, with purpose. Still, confusion clouded their minds. They left the garden uncertain, their faith flickering like a dying flame. But Mary remained. She knelt at the tomb, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you crying?" a voice asked. She thought it was the gardener. "They have taken my Lord," she sobbed, "and I don't know where they have laid him." Then the voice said one word, her name, "Mary." Her breath caught in her throat. She turned, and there he was, standing, radiant, alive. His eyes, filled with light and tenderness, met hers. He said, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers that I am alive." She ran, her heart pounding, tears now of joy.
Still, not everyone believed. Thomas, one of the 12, doubted. "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands," he said, "I will not believe." 8 days later, Jesus appeared among them. The doors were locked, but suddenly there he was. "Peace be with you," he said. Then he turned to Thomas, extending his hands. "Put your finger here. See my hands. Reach your hand into my side. Stop doubting and believe." Thomas fell to his knees, trembling, "My Lord and my God." And Jesus smiled. "You believe because you have seen me. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe." In the days that followed, he appeared again and again, walking, talking, eating with them. On the shores of Galilee, he broke bread and shared fish by the fire. He spoke of forgiveness, faith, and love. He reminded them that this was not the end, but the beginning of something eternal. "Go and make disciples of all nations," he said, "and surely I am with you always, to the very end of the age." Then one morning, as they stood on the Mount of Olives, a brilliant light surrounded him. His feet left the earth, rising slowly into the sky. The disciples watched, awestruck, as clouds received him from their sight. Angels appeared beside them and said, "Men of Galilee, why do you stand here looking into the sky? This same Jesus will come back in the same way you have seen him go." And so hope was born anew. The crucifixion and resurrection are not just events in history, they are the very heartbeat of faith. The cross represents sacrifice, the ultimate act of love. The empty tomb represents victory, the proof that love is stronger than death. For every believer who faces darkness, the message remains the same: death does not have the final word. Because of that morning, the world would never be the same again. Empires have risen and fallen. Nations have changed, centuries have passed, yet the story of that one morning still echoes through time. Every sunrise whispers the same truth. The light always returns. When we feel buried by grief, when fear closes in like a tomb, the resurrection reminds us that stones can be rolled away, hope can rise again. The victory of Christ is not distant. It lives in every act of kindness, every prayer whispered in faith, every heart that chooses forgiveness over hate. He did not die to end a story. He died to begin one. And that story lives on in us. So when you look at the cross, see not sorrow but love. When you think of the tomb, see not death but life. Because the power that raised him still moves through the world, unseen yet unstoppable. That is the meaning of victory over death. It is the promise that no matter how deep the night, the dawn will always come. And as the risen Christ said, I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live even though he dies. And through that truth, the world was changed forever.